also make a note for essay on the Gita. So if everybody has got the text, we can start reading.
Yeah.
And Yasmin has offered, so let Yasmin start. We grant her the offer that she made. We accept.
But all even of the yogins have not attained to this knowledge. Some yogins follow after the sacrifice, which is of the gods. Others offer the sacrifice by the sacrifice itself into the Brahman fire. The former conceive of the divine in various forms and powers and seek him by various means, ordinances, dharmas, laws, or, as we might say, settled rites of action, self discipline, consecrated works. For the latter, those who already know the simple fact of sacrifice, of offering whatever work to the divine itself, of casting all their activities into the unified divine consciousness and energy in their own in their one means, their one dharma. The means of sacrifice are various. The offerings are of many kinds. There is the psychological sacrifice of self control and self discipline, which leads to the higher self possession and self knowledge. Some offer their senses into the fire of control. Others offer the objects of senses into the fires of senses, and others offer all the actions of the sense and all the actions of the vital force into the fire of the yoga of self kindled by knowledge. There is, that is to say, the discipline which receives the objects of sense perception without allowing the mind to be disturbed or affected by its sense activities. The senses themselves becoming pure fires of sacrifice. There is the discipline which stills the senses so that the soul in its purity may appear from behind the veil of mind action, calm and still. There is the discipline by which, when the self is known, all the actions of the sense perceptions and all the actions of the vital being are received into the one still and tranquil soul. The offering of the striver after perfection may be material and physical, dravya yagna, like that consecrated to worship by the devoter to his deity, or it may be the austerity of his self discipline and energy of his soul directed to some high aim, tapoyagna, or it may be some form of yoga like pranayama of the Raja Yogins and Hatha Yogins, or any other yoga yagna. All these tend to the purification of the being. All sacrifice is a way towards the attainment of the highest.
About a para and about a page. Okay, so we look. There are many types of disciplines in yoga. That's why all the description is there, but the language is a little complex. That's why we have to see what is meant. What is meant by offering the senses into the fire? You don't offer your eyes and your ears into the fire. So what exactly is meant? We have to see. Okay, but I'm reading each sentence. But all even of the yogins have not attained to this knowledge. And what is that knowledge? The last line of the previous paragraph. To know that
Ranganath, here I don't understand the meaning of even. What is even here?
That's what I'm saying. So that the previous para, if you see, okay, that last sentence, to know that, and to live and act in this unifying consciousness is to be free. Okay? Is to be free. So he's saying that some also become free, but they know that, but they don't maybe necessarily live in it. Okay? To live in it means not to have an experience, but to be absolutely realized in that consciousness. It has to be stabilized, realization, and not experience. Okay? So, I'll go a little higher up even for the man who has this knowledge. So let me see, okay? One week, every week we have to renew what we have learned earlier.
No, I was talking about the construction of the sentence. That even, which is
I understand what you're saying. Because he's saying that, but even all the yogas have not attained to this knowledge. The yogins, which is that knowledge I'm trying to see, then we will understand the word meaning of even. Huh? All the yogins are doing yoga, but what level have they reached? To know that, and what is that? To live in the divine. So, the universe, all of them may not have lived in the divine. That's what he's saying. And that's why they have to continue their yajna. Okay? So, but all even of the yogins, okay, have not attained to this knowledge, the knowledge of the living in the divine. That's what probably he means. Okay? Yogins have reached a very high level, but are they living in the divine? That's the whole thing. So just know that. See, to know that and to live and act in this unifying consciousness is to be free. So you have to not only live there, but you have to also act in the physical world. Most of the yogins, as you know, Jnana Yoga and Bhakti Yoga, they go to the higher level of consciousness, but they don't bother about the body-mind life. But the body-mind life, you have to continue to act also in the physical world, then you are free. And what is meant by being free in your action? The consciousness can be free, but the body-mind life may not be free. It may be under the slavery of universal nature. You know that, no? So you are not the doer. Okay, then we'll have to go back to many ideas. Man is not the doer. It is universal nature which is the doer. This idea, if you are very firmly fixed in your mind, you will understand. So, the goal of yoga in India until now was to raise your soul and your consciousness to a higher level and be there and not be located in the body-mind life. All of us our soul is located in the body-mind life and we are living there. So, we are not yogis at all. But there are many who attain to realization and go to that level, higher level, and live there. But we are not bothered about the action in the physical world. That continues to be imperfect. So, that is what he is saying. But all yogins who have attained have not attained this knowledge. And what is that knowledge? To live in the physical world also and be free. So, it's about two types of liberation. One is the liberation of the soul. The other is the liberation of the body-mind life, outer nature. Okay? One is the liberation of Purusha, and that many yogins have done. But very few yogins have been able to do the liberation of the Prakriti. In other words, you are continuing to act in the physical world, and you are not attached to anything, and none of the actions actually makes a difference to you. Your consciousness is absolutely calm and quiet. When a yogi reaches the higher level, his liberation of the soul, if he happens to come down again into the body-mind life, he is back in his old nature. Okay? So that is what he means by even all the yogins. So all yogins have not been able to live in and act in God. Tarika?
Yeah.
So there are two types of yogis. One who lives only in the higher consciousness, and the other one who is living in the higher consciousness, but also coming down into the body and acting without being affected by the world movements. Like water. That's what he means. But all even the yogis have not attained to that knowledge. What is that knowledge? You have to come down into the physical world and continue to work, but not imperfectly, not being slave to universal nature. Your soul is free, but not attached to body, mind, life. But you continue to act. That's what it means. But all even of the yogis have not attained to this knowledge. And what is that knowledge? To live and act in the unifying consciousness. Okay? Unifying consciousness, not the word. Unifying, what is unifying? Spirit and matter. So each word in Sanskrit reveals what is saying. Tarika, now it's
Yeah.
clear?
Yeah, clear now.
Yeah, unifying consciousness. Okay. So some yogins follow after the sacrifice, which is of the gods. So some do it for the gods. There are many who sacrifice to Ganesh. There are many who sacrifice to Shiva or Vishnu. These are common. Okay. Others offer the sacrifice by the sacrifice into the Brahman fire. The sacrifice is the act, okay? And into the Brahman fire. The Brahman fire is the impersonal aspect of the divine. So that's probably what we. But I tell you frankly, I don't understand what is meant by offer the sacrifice by the sacrifice into the Brahman fire. It's not very clear to me. Okay, so maybe I have to think about it a lot, and then maybe I'll have to come up with a solution. Can any of you give me a solution? Offer the sacrifice by the sacrifice into the Brahman fire. Maybe if you take the meaning of sacrifice in the beginning, like we have discussed later on, okay, Dravya Yajna, then Tapo Yajna, maybe in that way, okay, maybe he means that. Putting ghee into the fire. So that also is sacrifice, but by the sacrifice itself into the Brahman fire. Anyway, we'll keep that pending. If any of you get an idea, we can discuss it. The form.
Rangada,
Yeah, tell me.
Rangada, doesn't this passage is related to the Gita chapter 4 and the 24, the phrase? Because in the previous para, I think the previous para talk about this, like the Brahman is the giving, the Brahman is the food offering. By Brahman, it is offered into Brahman fire. So can it be related to that passage?
Oh, yeah, it could be that. Others offer the sacrifice by the sacrifice itself.
Mm-hmm.
That means everything. Yeah, everything is the Brahman. The
Yes.
Brahmarpanam Brahma, that one. Brahmarpanam Brahma Havir
That's right.
Brahmarnau Brahmana Hutam, that one.
Havir Brahmagno Brahmana Utam. Brahmaivatena Kantavyam Brahma Karma Samadhina. I think probably that's what it means. Sunki, not bad idea.
This is Ranganath's fourth chapter,
24th sloka.
24 and 25.
It is 25th shloka. The reference, Rangada, in my book, I have the reference, 4th chapter, 25th shloka from Gita. I have the Vak edition in which the references are given. As I'm traveling, I'm not, the network is going and coming. 4th chapter, 25th shloka.
Yeah,
The
that's
reference is given here.
That's right. Yeah, in my book also, the chapter 4, verse 24 and 25.
24, yeah, it is 24.
24 and 25 also is there. Yajna, that's what he's going to describe actually. Okay? So, the former conceive of the divine in various forms and powers and seek him by various means, ordinances, dharmas, laws. In fact, you can approach the divine through so many different ways. That's what he's describing. Laws, or, as we might say, settled rites of action, self-discipline, consecrated works. There are so many ways of approaching the divine. For the latter, those who already know the simple fact of sacrifice, of offering whatever work to the divine itself, of casting all their activities in the unified divine consciousness and energy. Okay, there again you see, unified divine consciousness and energy, very clear. You are unifying consciousness and energy. In other words, Chit and Shakti. In other words, spirit and matter. So in other words, again, it means working in the physical world with a divinized consciousness. That's what it means. Okay? So, so not only escaping into the higher levels of consciousness and remaining there, that's a wonderful experience. That's a wonderful liberation. There's no doubt about it. But Sriyando and Gita both want to go a little deeper. They want to come down also and unify the heaven with it. Okay? Marrying the soil. That is what he said. The others don't do that. All the yogins don't do that. They are very satisfied only with the sky, not with the soil. It's clear now. No? So he used the word unified twice. And he also makes it even more clear. Consciousness and energy. Consciousness is chit and energy is, and at the lower level, Purusha and Prakriti. Okay? So you have to combine both. Okay, so they're one dharma. Now look at that. Both. The one dharma is only that. Not only the upper dharma or the lower dharma. They have to combine both. Is there one means, one dharma. The simple fact of sacrifice is that. Work in the physical world, offer all your work to the divine and get the divine consciousness even here. Okay, so that's it. Karma Yoga. The means of sacrifice are various. Many types of sacrifices offered. If you remember, Mother's prayers and meditations, the first page is in Mother's own handwriting. And she says there how the offerings are there to the divine. Some offer their thoughts, some offer their actions, some offer their wealth, and some offer all of themselves to the divine. So, something like that. All the different types of offerings. Each one has got an effect. But naturally, the one that is the most is you offer yourself entirely to the divine, then that is the best. So, there are the, now he is listing all the different types of sacrifices. There is the psychological sacrifice of self-control. Okay? Now, you have to see, self-control also is a sacrifice. But there are many who are also trying to control themselves. But there is no sacrifice. What is the difference? The difference is, if your self-control is directed towards the divine aim, then it is a sacrifice. Otherwise, how is it a sacrifice? Somebody who is in the street, he tries to control his anger. That's not a sacrifice. The sacrifice comes when you control your senses and your psychological movements, but offer them to the divine. Okay? That is a psychological sacrifice of self-control and self-discipline. There are many who do self-discipline. Artists do discipline of practice of sitar, okay, or musical instruments. An athlete goes on doing self-discipline. He tries to control his whole life with discipline. That is not sacrifice. Sacrifice is when it is directed to the divine, which leads to the higher possession, self-possession and self-knowledge. Exactly. You have to go higher self-possession. Self-possession means what? Controlling yourself. That's what it means. So, you don't necessarily control yourself when you do just that. Control your anger, control your... That's not necessarily a spiritual activity. It's not a yogic activity. Then the second one. First is self-control and self-discipline. Second, some offer their senses into the fire of control. Now, that's exactly what is. The language is a little curious. Huh? You don't offer your senses into fires, but you offer it into control. Control is taken as a fire. Okay? But let me explain something very interesting. When you, I'll go according to one law. Okay? In the physical world, there is a law of compression. I think all of you know that. No? If you've done physics, you know that. When you compress something, okay, when you compress something, there is heat produced. And heat is a matter of fire. Fire has got many different manifestations. Heat, light, okay, and fire also, lightning, all these are aspects of fire. So when you are controlling something, what are you doing? You are actually controlling, going inwards, not outwards. When you have anger, it is going outwards. When you have feelings of hate, it is going outwards. there is a dilution of your consciousness. But when you are going inwards, there is a compression. Now you know how the refrigerator works now. There is a gas which is compressed. And when it is compressed, it lets out heat. And the refrigerator becomes cold. That is the principle on which a refrigerator works. There is a gas which at normal temperature is a gaseous state. Then they compress it, it becomes liquid, and it is circulated at the back there are pipes in the refrigerator. And when that it absorbs all the heat of the refrigerator and becomes gas again. Okay? And that's a compressor. You have a compressor, it becomes gas and comes back. Again it is compressed and made into liquid and again circulated. So this is not absolute nonsense or psychological. The psychological sacrifice of self-control. When you actually control yourself, you are compressing. When you are concentrating also, you are compressing, and that creates a heat. Sometimes yogins feel that heat also in the body, and it can be even more than that. It can be even more than that. It can be, the fire can also be actually, its results can be seen in the body. Okay, so that is the purification. So that is what he's saying. There is a psychological sacrifice of self-control and self-discipline. Sorry, the other one. Some offer their senses into the fires of control. So fires of control is to be understood in the right way. Okay. Others, third one. Others offer their objects of sense into the fires of sense. So what does that mean? That means the senses are being so objects of sense, sorry, very clear. That means suppose I enjoy ice cream, okay? Let's see. So you offer that to the divine. Okay? The object of sense is the desired object. Okay? So that is offered. Okay? Then what happens is very interesting. If you do that, now there is psychological, very interesting. Okay, just be patient with me. Okay. Now tell me, if I am enjoying something, I give you a very gross example. Okay, let's say ice cream. It can be any other food also. Suppose I enjoy the ice cream fully, my mind is enjoying. I am looking at the taste and I am enjoying it. Okay. Now suppose when I am doing that, I am offering it to mother and my thoughts are on mother. Will I enjoy that ice cream equally? That's the whole question. You will see that slowly, that enjoyment aspect, more concentration is there on the offering to whom you are offering. So slowly, the attachment to the enjoyment of the ice cream reduces. And one day you are free. So this is what is meant by offering the objects of sense into the fires of sense. Okay? This is what is meant. And others offer all the actions of the sense and all the actions of the vital force into the fire of the yoga of self-control, kindled by knowledge. So if you have the knowledge and you do that, it is even more powerful. You may not agree with what I have said, but if you think about it, you will see that you can experiment actually. Where your favorite food or your favorite thing, you like something, okay, let us say, okay, you like something. You do that and there is enjoyment. Now put your mind elsewhere, okay. Don't put it on the thing that you are enjoying, but put it on something else. Even absent-mindedly, okay. It's interesting. Suppose I am eating and I have a companion with me and we are talking, okay, and my concentration is on the talk and we are having, your enjoyment will be less because you are not identifying yourself with the taste of what you are eating. So this is what is meant by the offering of the objects of sense into the fires of sense. And others offer all the actions of the sense and all the actions of the vital force into the fire of the yoga of self-control, kindled by knowledge. So if knowledge is there, what is the knowledge? That if I do this, I'll get this result. That knowledge is there. So, in fact, these are all double quotes. That means he is translating absolutely from the Gita. There is, that is to say, the discipline which receives the objects of sense perception without allowing the mind to be disturbed or affected by the sense activities. See, this is exactly what we were discussing. So, if you are enjoying the ice cream and your mind is attached to that, it is disturbed. Disturbed it can be a negative way and a positive way. When you are eating ice cream, it is disturbed in a positive way. When someone insults you, it is disturbed in a negative way. But the disturbance is common. Okay? So that's, we think about it. Okay? So he's saying, there is, that is to say, the discipline which receives the objects of sense perception. Objects of sense perception, whatever it be, whether it's a physical object or a other thing, whatever it is, the objects of sense perception, without allowing the mind to be disturbed or affected by the sense activities. The word disturb should not be taken in a negative way in that sense. Disturb means it becomes movement, that is disturbed. Okay? And the disturbance need not be necessary as we normally understand the word disturb. It has gone into movement. It should be absolutely silent and calm and quiet. And the second phrase explains that very clearly. Not affected by the sense activities. The senses are working, but they are not disturbing the mind. They are not disturbing your consciousness. The senses themselves becoming pure fires of sacrifice. As soon as coming into you, it is being offered to the divine. So it's not even reaching your consciousness. It becomes absolutely calm and quiet. Actually, it is quite a subtle thing, and it has to be practiced. If you practice it, then you will see the truth of what is being said here. Okay? There is the discipline which stills the senses so that the soul in its purity may appear from behind the veil of mind action. Okay? So, the mind action is a disturbance of the mind, and if that becomes calm and quiet, then the soul can come forward. And then it can guide also the outer natures. Okay? So, when veil of mind action, calm and still. So if the mind and the vital become calm and still, the soul can come forward because there is no more disturbance. Okay? There is the discipline by which, when the self is known, all the action of the sense perceptions and all the action of the vital being are received into that one still and tranquil soul. So I am using an image of the Gita itself. Okay, the Gita says that just as the rivers come and merge into the ocean, but the ocean remains absolutely calm. It is not disturbed at all. Nothing is changed. The ocean is too vast for that small river to come into it and disturb it. So the river is the impacts of the physical world. Your desires, your ideas, somebody else coming, praising you or insulting you, these are the rivers. But if your consciousness is like the sea, absolutely calm and quiet, nothing will disturb it. So this image is in the Gita itself. So this is what is being said. So if you offer the self-control, self-discipline, and the way to do that is to offer everything. Go on offering to the divine. Then I give you the example of even having a dinner, but talking to your friend while you are having dinner. You will see that the enjoyment is less because your concentration is elsewhere. The mind is not participating in the eating process. So that has to be taken and not with a friend, but give it to the divine. Sacrifice it consciously. In the case of the having dinner with a friend, it is mechanical and necessarily so, not by your will. But the sacrifice to the divine is through a will. That is the difference. But the effect is the same. Your attachment will become less and less. Okay, so now I read the next one. So the offering of the striver after perfection may be material and physical. Dravya yajna. So I offer money to ashram. I offer, many used to come and offer dhotis to Sri Aurobindo, very good pens to Sri Aurobindo. Many used to come and offer chocolates and soup packets, which she used to distribute back again to many because she never cared for food. Okay, she used to have actually only fruit juices. So this is dravya yajna. Dravya means material objects. Okay, so dravya yajna. So you can do that. When you are offering money, it's the essence of the thing, but not necessarily that. You can offer, many used to offer mangoes, okay, to Sri Aurobindo, okay. So many things they used to offer. So that's what it meant by dravya yajna. Like that, consecrated and worshipped by the devotee to his deity, or it may be the austerity of his self-discipline and energy of his soul directed to some high aim, tapo yajna. So even when you are concentrating for ordinary work also, there's a concentration. And that concentration is a sort of tapas. Okay? Tapas in Sanskrit means energy, heat. So heat is produced when there is concentration. We discussed that just now. Okay, so that's exactly it. And always heat purifies. We know that. Huh? When you heat something, it purifies. That's the process of the iron ore. When it is heated, the slag comes out and the pure iron ore comes out in one side and the slag comes out on the other side. So heat is always a purifying thing. And when you do control, you are compressing, and when you are compressing, heat is produced, and that heat actually purifies you. So it's a very complex thing, but this is exactly what is being said. Okay, so, or it may be in the form of pranayama of the Rajyogins and the Hatha Yogins. Even pranayama is the same. You are concentrating, and you are not only concentrating but breathing in a particular way. And there are many different types of breathings. Okay, but concentration is common to all of them. So the pranayama of the Rajyogins or the Hatha Yogins, or in any other yoga yajna. Any form of concentration can be a yoga yajna if it is offered to the divine. If it is not offered to the divine, then it's not a yajna. You will get a result. Naturally, all concentration will give you a result. But the result that you will come from actually giving it as a sacrifice to the divine is, there is no comparison to that. So, all these tend to the purification of the being. So just note that. Okay? All sacrifice is a way towards the attainment of the highest. You have to go back to the text in chapter 4, verse 25, 26, and then it also goes on to 27 and 26 and 27. Okay. This is what he is describing. That's it. By the way, one thought I think all of you have, but anyway, I'm telling you, read the Gita. It's absolutely fantastic. I know Tarika has already done that. I don't know if others have, but I'm sure. I think Sunki also has read the Gita, no? Sunki, have you read the Gita?
In my dissertation, the topic is about Gita. I had to. I read it, yes.
I know many others also have read, but those who have not read, take the trouble of reading it either in Marathi or in English or in Gujarati, whatever. There are translations are all available in all languages. Okay. So now we go on to the next para. Okay. The one thing needful. So we'll read either.
I'll read another.
Okay, Tarika, go ahead. The one thing needful.
The
Oh,
one
we
thing. Huh?
got 4 minutes. Read.
Oh. Okay. The one thing needful, the saving principle constant in all these variations, is to subordinate the lower activities, to diminish the control of desire and replace it by a superior energy, to abandon the purely egoistic enjoyment for the diviner delight which comes by sacrifice, by self dedication, by self mastery, by the giving up of one's lower impulses to a greater and higher aim. They who enjoy the nectar of immortality left over from the sacrifice attain to the eternal Brahman. Sacrifice is the law of the world, and nothing can be gained without it, neither mastery here, nor the possession of heavens beyond, nor the supreme possession of all. This world is not for him who doeth not sacrifice. How then any other world? Therefore, all these and many other forms of sacrifice have been extended in the mouth of the Brahman, the mouth of that fire which receives all offerings. They are all means and forms of the one great existence in activity, means by which the action of the human being can be offered up to that of which his outward existence is a part and with which his inmost self is one. They are all born of work, all proceed from and are ordained by the one vast energy of the divine, which manifests itself in the universal karma and makes all the cosmic activity a progressive offering to the one self and Lord, and of which the last stage for the human being is self knowledge and the possession of the divine or Brahmic consciousness. So, knowing thou shalt become free.
Yes, Sarika, that's correct. So knowing, knowing in this way.
Yeah.
Thou shalt become free. Okay, so we have actually exhausted the time. So this we will redo next time. Okay, so actually this is a very you have to go beyond the words and understand what he's saying. Okay, so we'll take it up next time. We'll redo this one. The one thing needful. Okay, and it can be done in so many ways. Nothing is absolutely done perfectly in one time. It's impossible. So slowly, the desires have to be removed. Slowly, the self-perfection comes by gradations. Again, gradation is very, very important in all things. So everything has got an effect. Very less in the beginning, but more and more until the final perfection is reached. So we'll take it up next time. Okay. I'll also make a note. So, au revoir, everybody.
Yes,
Thank you, Rangada.
Okay, au revoir.